Where's the car? The family gets into their car. Doors close. Seatbelts click. Everyone looks ready and excited. Inside the supermarket, quick montage, an empty cart rolls in. Items pile up fast. The cart is now overflowing. At the register, the receipt prints and prints and prints. Dad stares at it nervously. Mom nods calmly. Outside the store, the family pushes the heavy cart forward. Dad strains. Mom helps steer. The kids push proudly. They move far, very far, like they're walking home. They stop. Dad looks around. No car. Dad pulls out the car keys. Mom slowly turns and looks back toward the store. The family car sits alone in the parking lot. Back to the family, standing far away. Dad scratches his head, embarrassed. Mom crosses her arms, amused. The kids giggle. Trick backfires. Mom is cleaning the floor, fully focused. Bluey and Bingo peek from behind the couch, exchanging mischievous grins. Bluey draws a simple trap plan on a piece of paper. Bingo nods excitedly and gives a silent thumbs up. They shake hands in agreement. Fast, funny montage. A string is tied to a chair. A pillow is placed up high. A small paper X is stuck on a slippery spot. The girls step back, admiring their work. Mom walks closer. The girls hold their breath, covering their mouths. Mom pauses, looks around suspiciously. Mom pretends not to notice and calmly walks around the trap. Suddenly, she gently pulls the string. The pillow drops, right onto Bluey and Bingo. The girls tumble to the floor, surprised but unharmed. Mom stands with hands on her hips, smiling victoriously. Bluey and Bingo look at each other, embarrassed, then hide their faces. Mom pulls both girls into a warm hug. They all laugh together. Dad peeks in, accidentally steps on the leftover trap and slips slightly. Everyone bursts into laughter. Night camping. Late afternoon, still bright daylight. The family loads camping gear into the car. Tent, bags, flashlight. The kids bounce excitedly. Dad gives a confident thumbs up.
Let's go!
Mom smiles. Dad and Mom set up the tent. The kids help hold poles and pegs. The tent is finally finished. The sky turns dark. The forest becomes quiet. Leaves rustle in the wind. The kids press close to Mom and Dad. Dad swallows nervously. Mom looks around, uneasy. A small noise from the bushes. Everyone freezes. Dad switches on the flashlight. Its beam shakes. Just a bug. No danger. But nobody relaxes. The family looks at each other. Mom gently shakes her head. Dad nods very quickly. The kids immediately run back toward the car. The tent stands alone behind them.
The experiment slide. Bluey and Bingo are setting up a small laboratory. They use a chair and a plank to create a simple, steep slide. Bluey retrieves her first test subject, a round rubber ball. She places it at the top of the plank and lets it go. The ball flies quickly down the ramp and bounces across the floor. Bingo giggles and tries to catch it, amused by the speed. Bluey places the block on the ramp and releases it. The block slides slowly, coming to a gentle stop at the bottom with a quiet thud. The two girls look at each other. Bluey gives a serious nod, as if she understands the lesson about friction. Bingo smiles, satisfied with the results of their experiment.
The secret birthday mission. Early to bed. Mom raises a finger and gestures. Early bedtime tonight? Dad and the kids nod seriously. The clock flips to 9 p.m. Everyone is still in the living room. The child sleeps peacefully. Dad sits upright, wide awake. Mom checks the clock, then sits back down. The clock reads 10 p.m. Dad has turned on the TV and is fully engaged. Mom sits beside him, scrolling on her phone. The child continues sleeping soundly. The clock shows 11 p.m. Dad changes TV channels. Mom smiles at her phone screen. The child shifts position slightly, still asleep. Mom looks up at the clock. Eyes widen. She looks at Dad. Dad looks back, sheepish. They both glance at the couch. The kid has been asleep forever. Faces of emotion. Chilli sits on the floor with Bluey and Bingo, holding a small, magical hand mirror. Chilli looks into the mirror and then makes a very sad face, with her ears drooping slightly. Bluey and Bingo observe closely, and then they both imitate that sad expression in the most adorable way. Suddenly, Chilli changes. She flashes a big, bright smile at her daughters. Immediately, the sisters grin back, mimicking their mom's spreading happiness. Chilli looks into the mirror and then makes a very sad face, with her ears drooping slightly. Everyone bursts out laughing happily and shares a big, warm hug on the rug. What a fun lesson about feelings! Night camping. Late afternoon, still bright daylight. The family loads camping gear into the car, tent, bags, flashlight. The kids bounce excitedly. Dad gives a confident thumbs up. Mom smiles. Dad and Mom set up the tent. The kids help hold poles and pegs. The tent is finally finished. The sky turns dark. The forest becomes quiet. Leaves rustle in the wind. The kids press close to Mom and Dad. Dad swallows nervously. Mom looks around, uneasy. A small noise from the bushes. Everyone freezes. Dad switches on the flashlight. Its beam shakes. Just a bug. No danger. But nobody relaxes. The family looks at each other. Mom gently shakes her head. Dad nods very quickly. The kids immediately run back toward the car. The tent stands alone behind them. Making a small shelter for a cat. A gentle afternoon. A lost cat curls up under the porch roof. Dad bends down, using his hand to shield the cat from the rain. Mom looks at the sky, looks at the cat, nods with an idea. Dad brings out a large cardboard box. Mom lays a soft old cloth inside. Sister holds the box. Little brother passes the string and tape. Dad adds an extra cardboard layer at the bottom. Mom places the shelter close to the wall, away from the wind. Sister sets a small bowl of water in front. Little brother tiptoes over, gently placing a small towel inside. The whole family steps back, squatting down to watch. The cat walks closer, sniffs the entrance, pokes its head in, then crawls all the way inside. The cat curls up, lying still. The family looks at one another and smiles. Cleaning the old storage room morning. The back storage room door opens. The whole family stands in front of the room, filled with old boxes, covered items, and light cobwebs. Dad rolls up his sleeves and lifts a heavy box. Mom opens a notebook and quickly draws 3 sections. Keep, throw away, reuse. Sister opens an old box. An old toy car rolls out. Little brother's eyes go wide. The family looks at each other, then smiles. Quick, playful moments. Dad pushes the car. It hits a table leg and bounces back. Mom releases the car. It rolls in circles. Sister and brother fight over controlling it. Bump! Into an empty box. Everyone bursts out laughing. The storage room becomes brighter, cleaner, more open. The family sits down on the storage room floor. All let out a relieved sigh, smiling softly. Where's the car? The family gets into their car. Doors close, seatbelts click. Everyone looks ready and excited. Inside the supermarket, quick montage, an empty cart rolls in. Items pile up fast. The cart is now overflowing. At the register, the receipt prints and prints and prints. Dad stares at it nervously. Mom nods calmly. Outside the store, the family pushes the heavy cart forward. Dad strains. Mom helps steer. The kids push proudly. They move far, very far, like they're walking home. They stop. Dad looks around. No car. Dad pulls out the car keys. Mom slowly turns and looks back toward the store. The family car sits alone in the parking lot. Back to the family, standing far away. Dad scratches his head, embarrassed. Mom crosses her arms, amused. The kids giggle. Covering the roof to avoid the rain afternoon. Mom looks up at the sky, raises her hand to feel the wind. A raindrop lands on her hand. Mom turns toward the yard, signaling urgently. Dad runs to the shed, pulling out a large tarp. The wind grows stronger. Leaves rustle loudly. Dad spreads the tarp over the items in the yard. Flap! A strong gust lifts the tarp up. Dad holds one corner of the tarp. Mom grips the other corner. Sister jumps onto a chair, pulling the tarp edge down. Little brother presses hard on the lowest corner. The tarp billows like a sail. Everyone sways, but keeps holding on. Rain starts pouring down. Water slides off the tarp, streaming down in lines. Items are dry. Plant pots are safe. Chairs are fully covered. Everyone sighs in relief. Saving a broken plant, a calm afternoon after the rain. The little brother runs around the garden, then suddenly stops. He points. A young plant has been bent and broken by the wind, its stem leaning close to the ground. The little brother bends down to look, his face turning sad. The sister steps closer, gently touches the stem, and shakes her head worriedly. Dad examines the break carefully and nods with a decision. Dad gently straightens the plant's stem. Mom holds the base, adds more soil, pressing it firmly around the roots. The sister places 2 wooden stakes on either side. The little brother passes the string, carefully tying it around the stem. The string is tightened just enough, not too tight. A light breeze. A gentle wind blows. The plant stands firm. Its leaves tremble softly, no longer leaning. The family applauds as if they've just saved someone. The memory box. A quiet afternoon. A small box sits in the center of the table. A handwritten label on the outside reads, Memories. Dad looks around and gently opens a drawer. He takes out an old key, worn by time. Smiling softly, he places it into the box. Mom stands by the shelf. She takes a neatly folded old photograph, gently smooths the corner, then places it into the box. Sister runs back to her room. She brings out a slightly worn hair ribbon. She looks at it for a moment longer, then puts it in. Little brother quietly bends down to the floor. He picks up a small scratched toy, nods to himself, and places it into the box. The whole family sits in a circle. The box is placed in the middle. Dad opens the lid. The first item is taken out. Everyone looks at each other, pointing, guessing. As each item appears, surprise gestures, soft nods, gentle laughter. As the items are laid back on the table, the family sits closer together. The memory box. A quiet afternoon. A small box sits in the center of the table. A handwritten label on the outside reads, Memories. Dad looks around and gently opens a drawer. He takes out an old key, worn by time. Smiling softly, he places it into the box. Mom stands by the shelf. She takes a neatly folded old photograph, gently smooths the corner, then places it into the box. Sister runs back to her room. She brings out a slightly worn hair ribbon. She looks at it for a moment longer, then puts it in. Little brother quietly bends down to the floor. He picks up a small, scratched toy, nods to himself, and places it into the box. The whole family sits in a circle. The box is placed in the middle. Dad opens the lid. The first item is taken out. Everyone looks at each other, pointing, guessing. As each item appears, surprised gestures, soft nods, gentle laughter. As the items are laid back on the table, the family sits closer together, covering the roof to avoid the rain afternoon. Mom looks up at the sky, raises her hand to feel the wind. A raindrop lands on her hand. Mom turns toward the yard, signaling urgently. Dad runs to the shed, pulling out a large tarp. The wind grows stronger. Leaves rustle loudly. Dad spreads the tarp over the items in the yard. Flap! A strong gust lifts the tarp up. Dad holds one corner of the tarp. Mom grips the other corner. Sister jumps onto a chair, pulling the tarp edge down. Little brother presses hard on the lowest corner. The tarp billows like a sail. Everyone sways, but keeps holding on. Rain starts pouring down. Water slides off the tarp, streaming down in lines. Items are dry. Plant pots are safe. Chairs are fully covered. Everyone sighs in relief.
Bluey goes on a treasure hunt.
The balancing act. Bluey spots a bird perched on the fence and decides to challenge herself with a little balancing game. She slowly lifts one leg, arms out wide, trying to keep her body as still as a statue. But balancing is harder than it looks. Bluey begins to wobble and her little legs start to shake. Dad Bandit notices and steps right beside her. He circles his hands around her, creating a silent safety zone. Seeing her dad's hands nearby, Bluey feels a surge of confidence. She takes a deep breath and regains her focus. Thanks to the silent support, Bluey holds her balance longer than before. She feels strong and very capable. Bluey gets lost in the giant sunflower forest. the outdoor table. A quiet morning. The wooden outdoor table wobbles slightly. Every gentle touch makes the tabletop tremble. The family stands around, looking at one another. Dad nods. Let's fix it. Dad kneels down and tightens the bolts with a wrench. Clack, clack. A soft metallic sound. Mom hands over a small wooden piece, placing it under the shorter table leg. Sister wipes the tabletop with a cloth. Dust sparkles in the sunlight. Little brother holds the table leg, tilting his head, watching very seriously. Dad places a cup of water in the middle of the table. Everyone holds their breath. The cup stays still. No shaking, no spilling. The family laughs happily. The little brother claps with a loud smack. Forgot the kid. Morning at home. Mom grabs her keys and bag, checks the clock, running late. She gestures to the kid. School time. Mom walks out the door, carrying the child's backpack. Inside, the kid is still putting on shoes. The door closes. The kid looks up, frozen in place. The kid walks to the window and watches Mom's car drive away. He scratches his head, then shrugs and sits on the couch, calmly playing with a toy. Outside the school, Mom parks the car and turns to the back seat. Empty. Mom freezes. Mom looks at the backpack, looks at the empty seat, looks at her phone. Eyes widen. Panic. She quickly turns the car around. Mom rushes inside and swings the door open. The kid is on the couch, happily eating a snack/playing. They stare at each other for a second. Mom exhales in relief and hugs the kid tightly. The kid pats Mom's back like, "It's okay." Mom carries the kid outside, then double-checks the back seat before closing the door. The Cleanup Squad. The playroom looks like a toy battle just happened. Bluey and Bingo have played hard, but now it's time to tidy up. Mom Chilli enters with a gentle smile. She signals that it's time to send all the toy friends back to their homes. Bluey turns cleaning into a game. The sisters pretend to be cleanup robots on a special rescue mission. Robot Bluey gathers the red blocks, while Robot Bingo takes charge of the blue ones. The cleaning race is on. There's a giant passenger in need of help. Together, the sisters join forces to carry the big teddy bear back to its spot. The last few pieces are finally found. The room begins to appear clean, tidy, and spacious once again. Mom returns and is so impressed. Bluey and Bingo high-five, celebrating their successful mission. No shovel, no problem. A park or open grassy area. The family arrives carrying a small sapling and a water bottle. Mom points to the ground, ready to plant. Dad opens the backpack and searches inside. No shovel. Dad scratches his head and sighs. Mom looks around, a bit puzzled. Dad tries digging with his hands, winces and shakes them. Mom pours water on the soil. It only softens slightly. Bluey and Bingo watch, thinking. Bluey spots a strong tree branch on the ground. She picks it up and pokes the soil. The dirt loosens a little. Bingo's eyes widen. She nods eagerly. The family gently places the sapling into the hole. They fill it with soil. Mom waters it. The tree stands upright. The family steps back to admire the tree. Dad gives the kids a big thumbs up. Bluey and Bingo smile proudly. A light breeze rustles the leaves. Water volleyball. A scorching noon. The whole family fans themselves, sweat beading on their faces. Little brother spots a basin of water in the corner of the yard, his eyes lighting up. Dad brings out a volleyball. Mom places 2 basins of water facing each other. Sister signals to divide teams, standing on opposite sides. Everyone looks at one another and nods in agreement. Dad gently tosses the ball. Sister makes a clean return. Splash! The ball drops into a basin. Water explodes everywhere. Mom can't dodge in time. Part of her shirt gets soaked. Little brother jumps up to spike the ball. His hand slips. The ball flies off course. Splash! The ball lands right in Dad's basin. Dad is drenched from head to toe. The family stands in the middle of the yard, then burst into unstoppable laughter. 5 minutes at the beach, sunny beach. The family arrives with arms full of gear, tent, mat, beach bag. The kid bounces with excitement. Dad carefully sets up the beach tent. Mom spreads out the mat and arranges items neatly. The kid stares at the ocean, eyes sparkling. The moment Mom and Dad turn away, the kid runs straight into the water. A strong gust of wind blows. The tent flips and flies. The mat slides across the sand. Dad chases the flying tent. Mom grabs the mat. They exchange panicked looks. Cut back to the kid, still playing joyfully in the waves, waving happily at Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad look toward the water, worried but amused. The kid runs up from the water and hugs them.
Musical statues.
Dad Bandit is about to start the music. Bluey and Bingo are ready for a high-stakes game of musical statues.
The music starts. The sisters dance wildly, soaking up every bit of the upbeat rhythm. Music stops! Bluey freezes instantly on one leg, trying her best not to let her tail wag. Bingo wobbles a little, but manages to stay still. Dad walks around to check if any statue moves. The music kicks in again, faster and funnier. The whole family dances, the room filled with silent laughter.
Where are my glasses? Dad squints at a newspaper/phone, bringing it very close to his face. He looks around suddenly. His glasses are missing. Dad gestures urgently. I can't find my glasses. Mom and the kids look up and immediately stand. Quick montage. Dad bends down to search the couch, still squinting. Bluey checks under the table. Bingo opens the toy box. Mom lifts pillows and opens drawers. Everyone searches seriously. Dad picks up another pair of glasses. Sunglasses, toy glasses. Tries them on, shakes his head. The kids glance at Dad, then at each other, holding back laughter. Mom suddenly stops. She stares at Dad's head. Close up. The glasses are resting on top of Dad's head. Mom gently points upward. Dad reaches up, feels the glasses, freezes for a second, then gives a sheepish smile. The kids burst into laughter. Lost together, found together. Building a small wooden house. A cool, gentle morning. Dad carries the wood out and places it on the ground. Mom lays out the measuring tape, carefully measuring each piece. Sister uses a pencil to mark the lines. Little brother hugs a handful of nails, running back and forth excitedly. Dad joins 2 wooden boards to make the frame. The little house tilts slightly. The family stands back to look. Mom points and gently shakes her head. They take it apart and adjust it. Dad hammers in the nails. Thud, thud. Sister holds the board straight. Little brother hands over the hammer. The wrong way. The small wooden house stands firmly. The roof provides just enough cover with a cute low door. The whole family fits perfectly inside the tiny house. They look at one another and smile warmly. Bluey and Bingo wave goodbye to Dad and head to school. They walk happily down the street. After a few steps, Bingo reaches behind her back. No backpack. Bluey notices and points. Bingo quickly pulls out a phone and makes a call. Back at home, Dad is sipping coffee. The phone rings. He listens, nods confidently, and taps his chest. I've got this. He rushes inside and grabs a backpack. Bluey and Bingo wait near the school entrance, a little worried. From afar, Dad runs toward them, out of breath, holding the backpack high. The kids relax. Bingo takes the backpack and opens it. Inside, adult clothes, a scarf, random items. Bluey leans in, then covers her mouth, giggling. Bingo freezes. Dad looks inside the bag, looks at the kids, realizes this is Mom's backpack. He scratches his head, embarrassed. The three stare at each other for a beat. They all burst into silent laughter. Bingo has a stomachache.
Two hours later.
Secret gift box. Counting the stairs. Bluey and Bingo stand ready for a simple challenge, climbing the staircase. Bluey starts her climb, and Bandit begins to clap rhythmically, each clap matching a step. Bingo is slightly confused at first, but she quickly finds the rhythm, trying to sync her tiny steps with the claps. The two girls are halfway up. Bandit claps louder and clearer, helping them maintain the count. Bluey glances back to check her dad's rhythm. Bingo misses a step and pauses. She concentrates hard, then steps forward, determined to catch the rhythm of her dad's counting. Finally, Bluey steps onto the last stair, and Bingo follows closely behind.
Shooting star. The night has fallen. Bluey and Bandit settle down for a quiet evening on the veranda after a long day of play. Bluey gazes up at the twinkling stars, and suddenly she points an excited finger towards the sky. A brilliant, swift streak of light, a shooting star, flies across the dark night sky. Both dad and daughter watch it pass. Bluey turns to look at her dad, her eyes wide with surprise and a little bit of wonder. Bandit gently pulls Bluey into a warm hug. Bluey closes her eyes, keeping her silent wish completely private. She opens them, giving a look of pure contentment. Bandit tightens his hug, savoring the special moment.